All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, hey, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
And welcome back to Hour 2 of tonight's show here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada on the X Zone Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming at classic1220.ca. My two guests this hour are Mark MUNCY and ERIKA Lance. Mark specializes in folklore history, Fortean research with an emphasis on Appalachia and Florida cryptids and legends. Let me see here. ERIKA is an expert on witchcraft, true crime, and pulp culture. Joining us now from, where are you? Are you still in North Carolina?
Yep, we're in Western North Carolina right now. Good to be back, Rob.
Oh, good to have you with us. And ERIKA, nice meeting you for the first time.
Yes, it's wonderful to meet you.
Yeah. Mark, what have you been up to since you and I last talked? You're always so busy.
Well, we started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We started Eerie Travels, which is on twice a week. We're on all the major networks. And what we did was, it was because I'd done Erie Appalachia and I'd done the 3 Florida books that ERIKA's like, you were on so many shows and podcasts. Why don't you do your freaking own?
Yeah.
So and then I was like, well, that works because ERIKA has run Drinking with Authors, another great podcast, for a while.
Yes. So I talked Mark into doing the podcast. We started that a little over a year ago, and it's been going strong. It's pretty wonderful.
And now we're working on books. We're back full circle. We're doing books based on our travels for the podcast.
Now, when you say you're on different networks, are you on radio networks or audio platforms?
Audio platforms.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, we are on
YouTube.
and YouTube as well. So,
But like Spotify, Apple, Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Wherever your podcasts are listed.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, let me see. You've written about Appalachia. We've talked to you on that. We've talked to you about Erie as well, I believe, and Florida. So where have you been that's new?
Oh, goodness. We're working on, well, we're actually subdividing the Appalachians because I did Appalachia while it was 2020 and, the world was on lockdown. So
Right.
I got to talk to a lot of people, but after it hit, I got so much more. And now that we've started the podcast, we're getting emails and calls from people all over, as you know,
Yeah.
that you do. So now we're really focusing on Smoky Mountains right now. Kind of right. That's why we're based out of here right now. But we're also doing some stuff in the Northwest, the Northeast, a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah, we recently were up in the Wisconsin area, that northern area, for investigating things like the hodag, which is a wonderful cryptid up there. So we went on a little adventure that way, and then our next big adventure is up towards Pennsylvania and looking at all the wonderfully creepy places up in that direction and all the fun cryptids they have up there, like the squonk, which is a giant crying pig.
A giant crying pig.
Yep.
One of the saddest cryptids you will ever hear about. The hunters hear him crying this sad cry, and as they go out, they find little pig footprints and puddles of water from where he's cried
Oh my
so
goodness.
much.
except for then they never return. So there is a very dark side to that particular cute crying cryptid.
Now, people have been investigating cryptids, Bigfoot, and all the other cryptids over the years, and yet there's never been a definitive find. How do we explain that?
Well, I think there have been a few finds over the years, things that we've discovered that are things like back when I was growing up, in the 70s, the giant squid, the Kraken, was a myth. It was a legend. It was something, a sailor tale.
Right.
But now we've got cameras finding them, and so now it's just a thing. We no longer call it the Kraken. It's just a colossal squid.
Yeah,
And
I understand that. I understand that. But, that's because most of the time the Kraken is underwater. But if we're talking about Bigfoot and we're talking about other land-based cryptids, how come nobody's got that all conclusive smoking gun picture or any other proof?
I think there's a couple things. So there is a few new emerging theories that get into whether or not there is a degree of sort of dimensional shifting and potentially extraterrestrial involvement with the appearance of Bigfoot. But one thing that's very interesting is, and we've spoken to a few people who've done deep dives on Dogman, which is another cryptid, is they believe that they eat the corpses of their dead, and that's why they're not found. Meaning they don't, when a dogman, because they travel in packs, they don't leave the bodies. So it's not like a solitary creature that's out there. They actually do something, and there's a lot of creatures in nature that do this with the bodies of their dead.
Like an elephant graveyard. It's just they may take them someplace we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of this has to do with that this is, we like to call it preternatural, stuff we don't understand yet. This is just stuff that doesn't make sense to us yet. I mean, look at space research, and now we're learning about dark matter, and we're just now figuring out the science that makes it work. This is all stuff, years ago when growing up learning about this stuff, it was all okay, we don't get it. Now we're starting to. I think this is the same thing. I think cryptozoology is becoming the study of something that might actually happen. But I'm more for preserving the folklore and the history of these things. That's what we really like to get into. We'd love, of course, to find a Bigfoot or a squonk or a hodag, but I like getting into the folklore behind them and preserving those tales.
Well, it also, every time historically that something has been located, like this is talked a lot about in the history of, for instance, the hodag, which is supposed to be this giant serpent thing. What happened, though, was when there was a rumor of this and it was spotted, all of these hunters appeared in this great thing. So to hunt this thing down in this area, and that routinely happens with a lot of these legends when they did talk about finding them. So I think there's a little bit of a danger too, I personally think, in finding some of these things, because then it suddenly becomes, we found them, we know how to find them. People are going to want to hunt them down because they do that. And I think they're a pretty rare creature, whatever it is. And I don't know that we necessarily want that.
But we can look at the other side of that coin and say, okay, once we establish it is real, then we could put into motion the means and measures to protect it as a species.
That's true. And that's like I said, that's why we look into these things. Again, some of these creatures, we don't put together the sightings, right? Because they have different names, especially in these Appalachian hills and stuff. The same creature could be seen 5 different places, less than 10 miles apart, but because the mountains are so rigorous, they have 5 different names for it. So that same legendary creature we're talking about, the hodag here up in Wisconsin, along the Ohio Valley, they had a creature called Mishapeshu, or Mishapishu, depending on which tribe you talk to, the underwater panther. And it fits a lot of the same mythology, and some of the pictograms of that creature are the same as the descriptions of this lumberjack beast that the lumberjacks called the hodag. And then we find in the Ohio Valley, there's a effigy mound called Alligator Mound. And well, why would the natives make an effigy of an alligator in the Ohio Valley? Not exactly thick with alligators. But then you start looking at it with those pictograms of Mishapishu, you look at the underwater panther, and suddenly you go, oh, okay, we call it alligator because that's our word for it, but it was probably something else. And if all these civilizations, and this creature is sighted like all over the eastern United States, all up and down the Mississippi River, the Ohio Valley, we look into things like the Crosswick serpent and other sightings. These are things from over hundreds of years that all fit that same description when you really look at it. And that's what I really love digging into.
Mark, what is your favorite cryptid?
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
His favorite is one from where he grew up.
Yeah. There was a family story that grew up in eastern Kentucky. Mm-hmm. There's this wonderful creature called, it sounds like something out of South Park, right? It's the stupidest thing. It's got the head of a man, the body of a cow, or a big cat, and it's got a wooden leg. And so it's called the bench leg. And it's the bench leg of Goble Ridge. And it jumps from tree to tree and hits bad people off their horses with its wooden leg, which is silly. It's crazy. But that's the ones I love, or the ones like that don't make sense. But in that area, you ask anybody about it, everybody has a family member that has seen it at some point in their lives. And these are families that never lie, they're very religious. They're very, if you lie, it's the end of the world. You've committed a dreadful sin, but I did see that. And I saw it, riding home one day. So there's got to be some truth to these things.
Now getting back to this creature that has the wooden leg and jumps from tree to tree and knocks people off their horse. What do they do with cars?
That is a good question. Because it's interesting because we have a lot of truckers and a lot of people, train conductors and stuff like that write into our show and tell us stories about things they've seen and things that have jumped across in front of them. And it's very interesting. But I also think, like with this particular creature, it has a whole historical thing that goes back. And apparently, what's interesting about this particular creature is it was a creature that was brought forth for vengeance on its owner.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our first break here. Exo Nation, our guest this hour, Mark MUNCY and ERIKA Lance will be back with us on the other side as we continue right here from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada on the Exxon Broadcast Network. And your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming at classic1220.ca. Don't go away, I'll be right back.
Soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Dust off the sun and moon and sing a song of cheer. Just fill your basket full of sandwiches and weenies. Then lock the house up. Now you're set. And on the beach you'll see the girls in their bikinis, as cute as ever, but they never get them wet. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer.
Soda, pretzels, and beer. Now there's an idea for after the show, Craig. What do you say? Exo Nation, our guest this hour, Mark MUNCY and ERIKA Lance, and we're talking about cryptids this hour. Have you guys ever gone on a Bigfoot hunt yourselves?
I have not, because bugs. No, just kidding. I have not yet gone on a Bigfoot hunt. We actually are supposed to do one for the Erie Travel show, I think later this year. We're being invited to a local place that is doing Bigfoot hunts for beginners.
North Carolina Bigfoot Adventures will be part of that. But I have done quite a few. I go out with, that's my job is a paranormal journalist is what I like to call it, or a folklorist.
Okay.
Is I go with Bigfoot hunting teams, ghost hunting teams, UFO hunting teams. I'm not actually on the hunt as a hunter. I'm there to get their story and their experiences. And if we luck out and gets a little something, it's kind of fun. I've been on some hunts that actually turned into a Bigfoot hunt when we were hunting something else. There was a thing in Florida where a family, a couple truck drivers actually had emailed us that they'd seen what they thought was like a flying humanoid, either a gargoyle or a Mothman type creature in South Florida. And I was the only guy in the area, so of course they all called me, and I went out there with a guide. I got a Bigfoot hunting guide out there because I was like, hey, I got to go out to this campground that I don't know. I'm going off the highway. I need a guide. And so he and I go out there, and we are out there looking for this campground where another family had supposedly seen this thing. And on the way there, we found prints that were in the middle of nowhere, and there was no way they could have been set up before we got there. So he went to get his equipment. I sat out in the woods of the swamp of the Mayaca swamp for a little while he went and got, casting stuff. So it turned into a Bigfoot hunt when I wasn't actually intending it to be.
What has been the strangest thing that you've come across as you were doing your paranormal journalism?
Oh gosh, there's been a few. Story-wise, they've all been weird, but we've got one that I think Eric and I have been researching recently, and this is in North Florida. And this is, again, a few drivers have reported it to us. A dogman expert actually emailed us about it first, saying, hey, I saw something weird that crossed the road in front of me, and I don't know what it was. And you're the weird Florida guy, so you tell me. And then I shared it with our listeners and ERIKA, and now we've got a few more sightings of it. And it is a creature that looks like it's made of vines or strange, like a living plant almost, but in the shape of a horse.
So like a kelpie, like from Scottish lore, they have kelpies, which are supposed to be fairies. And this actually was seen by the dogman expert, but then it was also seen by a train conductor and two people driving trucks emailed before we ever said anything on the air about it. So there was multiple, because we don't tend to say, unless we've had an experience, we tend to not report on something unless we have multiple experiences with it, because, some people maybe have a little too much to drink and think they see things. So,
but isn't that what folklore is all about?
We codenamed it the kudzu kelpie.
But isn't that what folklore is about? You've got all these stories that have no proof. Like, they're great stories to tell at around the fire or at the pub, but when fact comes to push, there's no proof. But
I will say this is that when multiple people have a very similar experience, or like to Mark's, bench leg creature, he heard that as a kid and stuff and thought it was interesting until he ran into other people who, without him saying it, went, oh yeah, no, there's this rumor of this thing, and explaining it. So it's, you get I think stories being shared, it's kind of like one of my favorites is the woman in white, right? You hear the woman in white, and usually people go, oh, that was Sally, whose husband left her, or that was Beth, whose kids. But there have been women in white stories where it's a woman, dark hair, usually wet, near some sort of body of water, seen walking in a white dress. And if you go back and research this, which I did because we were doing a Valentine's episode, and I'm like, I'll do the woman in white. And then I found out there are stories dating back way before there were newspapers, books. It was just folklore from different areas, including, Asia and stuff like that, where where it talks about whatever this thing is. So it's like, to me, that's not a ghost. That's something else that has been prevailing in all of these areas, and multiple people have seen this particular one. There's one in Pennsylvania, a woman in white that runs people off the road, and there are documented accidents, and in the accident reports is this woman wearing a white dress who was wet jumped on my car, and they run off the road. So it is interesting, but we also think that, you know, that whole theory that if you also believe in something enough, there's topas, and you might be bringing them into being.
It's either that or you're on the way home from the bar.
Which I can vote for either one of those things as a whiskey fan, so I'm good either way.
In Appalachia, you know, there's a lot of strange stories that have, you know, been told over the years. Mark, what's your favorite one?
Oh, goodness. One of my absolute favorites is one we've been working on recently for the new book, and that would be the legend of Spearfinger. And this is a Cherokee legend that is dark and scary. It's everything you want in a legend. She's a shape changer. She's like the Deer Woman or some of these other folklore, you know, but are they folklore? Because the Cherokee, that's their belief. Mm-hmm. This is what it is. It's not folklore. It's not mythology. She's there. And she will change shape either to a beautiful woman or an old woman, and she'll call to the tribe or
a child.
But usually a child, and she'll pull them aside, and then she kills them by stealing their liver. And she has a very long pointed finger that she can stab so quickly they don't even notice. And she'll lull them to sleep or lull them away. And then sometimes she takes their form and comes back into the tribe so she can get the whole family. And she is so ingrained into their culture that there's a great story about where many different tribes banded together to hunt her and to kill her. And she figured out how they did their harvests. She figured out all these things. So they lured her into a trap. They couldn't kill her. It's just this amazing epic story. It's like Lord of the Rings fantasy level when you read this, but then you're realizing, no, to them, it's history. This is not fiction.
And they have a story about how she came into being, because she was punished for sort of crimes that she committed and then made a deal with a demon, which is what incarnated her to be able to stay on the earth. So it's very detailed. It's not just like this big shaggy thing walked out of the woods, walked past my house and stole my apples. Like, it is very detailed. The origin story, I should say, like many superheroes, the origin story of this particular preternatural being, but she's still seen today. And there are medical reports of people being found missing their livers. So it's very weird. And you just have to go, if you believe in something strong enough, how real is it?
Well, if there's medical records, have you seen these records?
Yes. I've seen a couple of them. There's actually some police reports recently. One is late as 2017 in Sevierville, which is just over the Smoky Mountains, and near her old reported stomping grounds. And there was a young man who was sick, went to the hospital, couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, and they had to do testing, and he was literally dying as they figured out where his liver is just gone. And they found a small hole in his back, and we've got the medical report on that. It's crazy, and that's in the newspapers, so you can find that. So was it Spearfinger? I don't know. Is it just coincidence that there's this small hole in his back and he died of a missing liver? What took his liver? We don't know. How did he live 17 years without a liver if he didn't have one?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're hoping that it's Spearfinger, because at least it explains it.
Okay. 17 years without a liver. Medically impossible.
That's the only other option, right? I mean, it's not like there was surgery scars or anything else. It was a small opening on his back that would, and that's, of course, everyone says, oh, it's, he was stabbed and he was hurt, but there is no, that was his official cause of death is disease due to complications from a missing liver. So.
Strange is true.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Strange but true.
All right, stand by, folks. You and I have to take our final break. And Exo Nation, our guests this hour, Mark MUNCY and ERIKA Lance. We're talking about cryptids. We're talking about myth, legend, folklore, and much more. And if you'd like to get some more information on our guests this hour, Mark, what's your website?
ErieTravels.com. That has links to all of our stuff.
Excellent. Mark, ERIKA, and I will be back on the other side of this short break. So whatever you, don't go away. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and on radio stations around Canada, the United States, including my favorite, your hometown classic 1220, and streaming classic1220.ca. We'll all be back on the other side of this break, so don't go away.
In the summertime, when the weather is high, you can stretch right up and touch the sky. When the weather's fine, you got women on your mind. Have a drink, have a drive, go out and see what you can find. If a daddy's rich, take her out for a meal. If a daddy's poor, just do what you feel. Speed along the lane, you can dine or a ton of 25. When the sun goes down, night was dark in the mountains, as the story goes. An Indian tale brought him out where only the Sasquatch goes. The moon was playing hide and seek, made the shadows come and go, looking for something they thought they'd find on the Bernie Creek Forest Road. The stories that intrigued them, they'd heard around the bar. Indian chant, an old black witch, and a man that was marked with scars. Three of them went looking.
I was telling Mark and ERIKA during the break that I don't think I'll go to the local restaurant and ask liver and onions for a long time unless I say to the waitress, "Excuse me, can I see your finger, please? Is there a spear on there?" No, that's not why I was asking you to see your finger. And, it brings a lot of strangeness to this world that we think is so cut and dry. Mark, what other stories like that have you and ERIKA investigated?
Well, one of my favorite recent ones is another one up this way, which is called the Boojum.
Is called the what?
Boojum.
Boojum.
And it is a type of Sasquatch or man of the forest. But what was interesting about him is he is quite famous for marrying a Cherokee woman that he gave her huge gems to woo her. And so there's a lot of controversy around her going off from her family to marry this Bigfoot. But it gets even more fun because how he came across these gems, was not mining or something like that, is bringing moonshine to miners. And as he's getting them drunk, he takes their gems and puts them in the moonshine jars and walks away with them.
Well, that explains a lot right there, moonshine.
Exactly.
Yes. I was like, most clever cryptid ever. It's one of my favorites because it's not like he's like, "Whoa, and I'm going to break down this wall." He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get these people drunk, and I'm going to take their stuff. Like,
I'm going to give it to the pretty lady, and she's going to be my bride. So.
Yes. I think that is life goals for cryptids everywhere.
Yeah, it certainly sounds. Now, Mark, you did work on the skunk ape, right?
Oh yeah, we worked with quite a number of skunk ape hunters over the years. We've done work with Stacy Brown from Finding Bigfoot, Connor Flynn, David Sidoti of the Independent Sasquatch Research Team. I've been with a lot of big skunk ape hunters. That's the Florida Bigfoot for all of you. We can't have nice names for things down here. We got to give them dumb names.
Well, they do smell really bad, so.
They do that everywhere, but
yeah.
we name.
So do dogs after they're wet.
Yeah, exactly. Any animal, a little bit. So
this is true.
Are we any closer to understanding what the skunk escape is?
We're starting to realize that there are different ones. I think there are those that believe that 100% it's a great ape that's just lost in the Everglades, right? It's a specific type. It's more orangutan looking. It's like tan and lean, and it moves through the swamps down in the Everglades. But as you go a little further north in Florida, the Ocala ones are a bit closer to the classic Sasquatch, right? They're bigger, they're brown, they tend to hang out in the woods in that area. They throw rocks, which is classic, like Pacific Northwest style. And those, I tend to agree, might be a bit more normal. But then you've got the ones in like the area I was in, the Withlacoochee State Forest, which is just south of Tampa Bay. That area, they're darker colored. They've got kind of like silverback style markings. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones that just kind of vanish. They disappear without a trace when you're following them. So there's a little hinkiness with them. And then there's even more in the Panhandle and stuff. Skunk apes are, we think there's more to it than I think our Dave Shealy, who runs the skunk ape headquarters down in the Everglades, he's probably got some of the best video footage I've ever seen of one from the early 2000s. It's like, people talk about the Patterson Gimlet and all those that are, a few seconds of footage. Mm-hmm. He's got almost like 5 minutes of this thing running through a swamp. And I don't think anybody gives that one enough credit.
What about the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot? What's your take on it? Legit or hoax?
Oh man, it's.
Can we abstain from this?
Nope.
I think honestly they got something there that cannot be explained easily. But that said, there were people who came out later and said, "Oh yeah, it was 100% hoaxed. I did it." But then those people got debunked.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you. I mean, honestly, it's it's the same year as the Planet of the Apes movie. All the major makeup artists are working on that movie, and it looks nothing like that. So
jury's still out, I think, on that.
I think that always will be.
Yeah,
we get a time machine and go back there and see it ourselves.
Well, the jury is at the restaurant having liver and onions. That's where the jury is. What about UFOs, Mark and ERIKA? Anything fascinating or out of this world on those?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting that the whole premise. Here's the thing is, if you watch the congressional thing that happened, there was a lot of them actually giving a lot of information interspersed between the phone calls being answered and them going, yeah, I can't answer that question, which is, that, to me, it speaks volumes, because it's one thing if you go, no, that didn't happen. It's a totally different thing when somebody goes XYZ and you go, I can't answer that question.
My favorite part of that is when we talk to actual active military people in the intelligence branches and stuff, that they won't go on record. Yep. They won't go on record. And it's like, well, just tell us a little something. And they're like, no, can't say anything. But then we talked to the naval pilot that actually released the famous Tic Tac video, the thing that started all this. We actually talked to her at a recent event.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we talked to a couple people in the intelligence community, and they were like, yeah, she's credible.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what does that mean? It's real? They're like, Nope, she's just credible. That's all I'm willing to say.
Yeah, if she's credible, we won't answer your other questions. So there is something out there, but I have a theory that we've talked about a little bit on our show, which is this. The men in black say a person is smart, people are stupid. They can't come out and go, oh yeah, by the way, we've been having UFOs come here, this, that, and the other, and we know it and stuff like that. Like, they couldn't do that because it would create mass hysteria and panic. It's way past the point of being able to introduce this. They sort of had their window back when War of the Worlds was released. And so now whatever is going to come about, which people keep seeing things on planes and stuff, eventually something will come out about it. It's just we're eating popcorn and waiting for it to come out like that.
I think we're on a cusp on all this stuff. I think disclosure is a matter of time.
Oh, I'll bet you disclosure won't happen within the next 10 years.
I agree with you. I think we're looking 10 to 20 years down the line.
If
but
ever.
I've been saying that since I was a kid. And
yeah.
Yet we have congressional hearings in the U.S. about it, which I didn't think we'd ever have in my lifetime. But then again, they didn't do anything.
Exactly. Well, it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time.
That's all this is.
I understand that, something I can't understand is the oxymoron military intelligence. Because like you were saying, if you know something, tell it. Well, we can't. Oh, she's credible. And so on. It makes no sense unless I have a theory on it that it's because of the sensitivity of the weaponry that we have now. We have to stay at least 20 steps ahead of the people that aren't very friendly on the other side of the world. And I believe that these stories are made up and propagated by the military in order to misdirect what people are seeing. Yeah. Like there's things that we need to know. There's things that we don't need to know. And I think a lot of times people who investigate UFOs are very close to crossing that line, and they're causing more harm than good.
Well, we have a follower on our show that would say the same exact thing. So we have a listener that sends us stories, but I think it's one of those things where whatever will happen will not be an announcement from the government. It will be something that
they can't deny.
That they can't do a takey-backsy on, which is a technical term.
Yep.
So when we look at the big cases of ufology over the last, let's say, 20, 30 years, Roswell, what do you think happened there?
I think that was a crash. I think a spaceship crashed. I think there were bodies. I think they showed up, and I think they took them away. And then when it's not happening,
don't look over here. Don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
But what about the possibility? What about the possibility of it being a Project Mogul balloon?
See, there's always that. This is one of those things when you start going down UFOs. That's why UFOs are even tougher to report on than folklore and mythology and stuff like that, because there are so many double blinds. There are so many things. We are always, like you said, 20 years ahead of what we know. And we find that out because 20 years ago, look, I remember the day in the 80s driving home one day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the F-16s are escorting a UFO over Tampa Bay. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the day they're going to announce we've made contact. And it was the announcement of and showing off the first time of the stealth bomber.
The B-2.
And it's like, oh my gosh, that's there it is. And that's looked like a UFO to me. And that when you look at that and say, well, that's probably been in development for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
they were probably testing it back then. That would explain some of the UFO sightings. I think now TR-3B, which is pretty much, it's still classified, but it's not classified because so many people talk about it. That's those black triangle crap that everybody sees. Mm-hmm. And they're always seen around military bases. They're always seen around naval bases. They're pretty much a joke that it's still a classified project. But we think that might be, the next gen UFOs, and that would explain a lot of sightings.
All right, guys, please stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. X-Zone Nation, Mark MUNCY and ERIKA Lance are our special guests. And what's your website one more time?
ErieTravels.com.
There you go. And we'll be back as we cap off tonight's show here in the X Zone on, let me see, Craig, what day is it? This is Thursday. Okay, this is Thursday's show. All right, there you go, Thursday. He keeps changing his mind on me. It's the liver he eats. It's got to be the liver.
Oh, yeah? You better check it.
Yeah. We'll be back on the other side as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming at classic1220.ca.
Indian chanting, old black witch, and a man that was marked with scars.
Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello. You twinkle above us, twinkle below. Good morning, starshine. You lead us along, my love and me, as we sing our early morning singing song.
Oh, my goodness. From liver to, to white lightning, to Bigfoot, to UFOs, to a lady who spears out your liver when you're not looking. These are what the paranormal and folklore is made of. Mark, one of your books, I believe, is 31 Tales of Hellview Cemetery. What is that about?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what started it all. I was running a haunted attraction back in Tampa Bay. It was based on local folklore and legends, and so it was a haunted house. And instead of having a werewolf jump out at you, I had the skunk ape jump out at you. Now, most people going through the haunted house had no idea what these things were, but I love putting in local lore and legends. And there was a local lore in Tampa Bay of a thing called mini lights, and it was don't go out at night or mini lights will get you, or if you say mini lights 3 times, her gator boys will come steal you. So I did a book that was basically the spooky versions of those tales. We had scaried them up even more for the haunted house, and that's kind of what started all this. Now, mini lights was one of those we found out was actually another one of those folk tales, be careful, but it turned into something that was even scarier. It was a reality thing, because what it was beware of mini lights was actually the men with lights, because it was a alligator farm that was stealing children on the south side of town and would put them in to entertain the tourists in the 1930s. And they would throw them into the alligator pit and let the kids be chased by alligators. So beware of mini lights. The gator boys will steal your children was beware of the men with lights, the gator boys. They will steal your children. And so that what took me down this rabbit hole of folklore and legends, and some of them are based on things much worse than a scary witch with gator children.
What got you started in all of this, Mark?
I gotta say it was the bench leg. It was the story I'd heard 100 times as a kid. It didn't make sense to me. Why would I wanted to hear ghost stories? I was out in the woods of eastern Kentucky. I wanted to hear monsters in the hills, and this is what they tell me about this thing with a cow body with a wooden leg and the head of a man, and it doesn't make any sense. But then late one night, I saw something that didn't make any sense. I saw some dark shape running through the woods, and it had a glowy, weird looking head. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm a believer.
Seeing
And
is,
I've got a story to tell around the campfires myself now.
seeing is believing.
Yep, that turned it. ERIKA, what about you?
Mine was, I grew up in Hollywood, California when the Night Stalker was killing people, for lack of a better way, which got me started down a path of looking into horror, looking into pop culture, looking at the phenomenon of what happens when you have a real life monster and how that affects people. And then, of course, meeting Mark and my own witchy and ghost experiences through my life. But meeting Mark, it was fun kismet to go, let's have a weird show together.
What kind of witch are you? Are you a practicing witch?
I would say now I dabble. A friend of mine said the other day, she's like, you're either in or out. And I'm like, wow, that sounds very threatening. But I do very much believe in magic. I do believe a lot of it is based on intention. But I have developed more and more and, have my own different things, cinnamon out the door at the first of the month and, different luck coins and a little superstitious, I guess, at times. But it's interesting because I think you put enough intention behind something, it can be very true. And I've seen people that have had bad experiences that have utilized different spells or spiritual tools like that to help protect them in those kind of situations.
Did you belong to a coven?
No, no, I do not belong to a coven. I do have other witches that I know, so maybe we should form a coven.
We've got kind of a nice little support group on our Erie Travels Discord that's like young Appalachian witches.
Yes.
And they're all supporting each other, just giving each other advice and tips on how to handle situations and stuff. It's very cool to watch, and I love it. And they send us emails and questions all the time to share with the listeners. It's just part of our culture now with the show.
Yeah.
In your opinion, which country around the world has the most folklores?
Oh.
Per square foot, I would say Scotland, Ireland, but the fact that that's the same mountain range as the Appalachians, it's just, it's been separated by an ocean thanks to, the original Brexit of Pangea. I think the fact that same spirits and legends are all the way down here, I think this area has got so much.
It's true, but I'll tell you, every culture has it if you go there. Like I visited South Africa, for instance, and they have a whole legend there about these creatures that will kill you in the middle of the night if you don't raise your bed on bricks. And to this day, normal everyday people you'll meet go in their house, their bed is raised up on bricks. Their normal nice bed is raised up on bricks.
It becomes tradition.
It does. And so I think there's folklore everywhere. It's just, is it historical stories that are passed down from generation to generation, or different creatures that people are seeing, like the little people of Hawaii? I was there. There was and there's documentation on these people, and when they were driven into the island and kind of disappeared. I think it's everywhere.
What do you think a lot of these legends would look like or sound like if they were to happen today with what we know about science, what we know about quantum physics, what we know about theology, and all the other ingredients that go into a good folklore? Would the folklore survive the test of time if it happened today?
I think it does. I think we see that happen all the time. But it becomes like a meme almost, but then they evolve. Look at what happened with the creepypasta phenomena of the early 2000s, the early internet. They make a website. It's like a Wikipedia for monsters and legends. In fact, a lot of my old Hellview stuff got put up on that site. And these things like the Not Deer and the Slender Man phenomena. These are things that were put up onto a website. They were made up as Photoshops. They were made up as, just creative stories, drawings, and stories on Reddit. And then the next thing you know, people are seeing them. People are convinced that they've encountered them. Then there's videos. People are seeing videos of the Not Deer, and people are experiencing them. And I think that becomes modern folklore, modern legends. And we go back to our tulpa studies, which are, where they decided to invent a ghost and that sort of thing. Are we inventing these things? Are we creating these folklore with our own beliefs, with just the power behind them? Could that be happening? I don't know.
I believe that a lot of the folklores were to give some semblance and to give some order. For example, well, let's talk about the one where you were saying that they put the beds up on bricks. That makes good sense in Africa because there's a lot of things that crawl on the floors in Africa. So I can understand that. So is it possible that a lot of these folklores were intended to teach a lesson to people?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. It's like
absolutely.
Spearfinger goes back to the Cherokee. Don't trust strangers. Don't trust, everybody. If you hear a voice in the woods,
right,
be careful. It's not, it may not be a friend. Don't just go running out there. And that's just because somebody's asking for help doesn't mean they need it.
That's true.
This is what all this goes back to. It's don't go to that spooky house. Somebody died there. Well, yeah, somebody was murdered in that house. So that's why it's the haunted house in town. That's exactly how these things go.
What about prehistoric?
I think it's still the same tales.
What about prehistoric animal sightings?
Well, what's interesting about that is that we have not explored nearly enough of this planet that we're on. Again, I can make reference. I love the story of the giant squid because I remember people were like, there's no way a squid took down a boat. And now they found the giant squid, and then they found an even bigger version of the giant squid down below. And you kind of go, okay.
That's some of these stories. There was a turtle. A giant turtle spotted in the 1930s. It's a folk tale that in Fort Myers area of Florida, a family escaped a hurricane riding on the back of a prehistoric turtle. And it's like, all right, well, that doesn't make sense. But then in the 60s, the Navy goes on high alert in that same area, Port Charlotte Harbor. They go on high alert because they see a dark shape in the waters. They're convinced it's a Russian sub. And they go on alert and they get out there and the divers say, wait, it's just a giant turtle. It's a 30-foot loggerhead turtle. Well, it was never caught, it was never captured, but Navy divers sketched it and everything. It would have been the largest turtle ever. And we don't know how big they get. We don't know how long they live in the wild. Family of four could have ridden on the back of a 30-foot diameter turtle.
Yeah, sure. It looks like a giant raft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. As always, time goes by so fast when we're talking to you, Mark and Eric. ERIKA. Nice meeting you. And keep the great work up. I love the stories. XO Nation, if you'd like to find out more about ERIKA and our good friend Mark, give the website one more time.
ERITravels.com.
All right. Good night, guys. Take care. And thanks very much for joining us. And to you, the members of the XO Nation, I'll be back tomorrow night as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight, right here on your hometown radio and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. So the next time you're in a restaurant and you look at the menu and you see, liver and onions, just remember the story that you heard here tonight on the X-Zone. Good night, everyone. Until tomorrow night, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light.